It's a 3, right? 1238, providing free school meals for all. I will note that the remainder of this committee time will be devoted to this bill. We will be asking our caucus staff to notify the prime sponsor in his office that we're taking up the bill. But in the meantime, let us ask Ethan for a briefing on the contents.
Madam Chair, should I do this really quickly? See if we get the prime sponsor here really quickly?
Yes, please.
Okay, good afternoon. Again, for the record, Ethan Moreno, nonpartisan staff, and speaking to House Bill 1238, and I want to indicate that this legislation is by request of the Superintendent of Public Instruction. I will provide background information in 4 areas and then summarize the provisions of the bill. First of all, in terms of school nutrition programs at the federal level, the National School Lunch Program and the School Breakfast Program are child nutrition programs funded by the U.S. Department of Agriculture. The NSLP and the SPP are designed to promote the health and well-being of children by providing nutritionally based low-cost or no-cost meals to children each school day. The federal meal programs are administered in Washington by the Office of the Superintendent of Public Instruction, and both meal programs provide reimbursements to school districts for served meals that meet federal requirements. Household applications submitted by families to schools are used to determine student eligibility for free or reduced price meals. And to qualify for free school meals, a student's family income must be at or below 130% of the federal poverty level. Students whose families have income between 130 and 185% of the federal poverty level are eligible for reduced price meals. I don't normally address federal legislation, but I wanted to do that for purposes of the background information today, and that federal legislation adopted in 2020 and that was subsequently extended allowed states through a waiver issued by the Department of Agriculture to provide meals at no charge to all students, regardless of family income, through the 2021-22 school year. Federal provisions authorizing states to provide these meals at no charge to students during the school year have expired. The second point of background information that I wanted to cover relates to the state's program of basic education. That program is defined in statute as that which is necessary to provide students with the opportunity to develop the knowledge and skills necessary to meet state-established high school graduation requirements. The minimum components of the instructional program of basic education include multiple education requirements, student transportation requirements, statewide salary allocations necessary to hire and retain qualified staff for the state's statutory program of basic education. Third, in terms of background information, is the Learning Assistance Program. This program supports the provision of supplemental instruction services for students who are not meeting academic standards. The state provides 2 types of funding allocations for the LAP, a general LAP allocation and an additional high poverty-based allocation for qualifying schools. School districts and schools who qualify for one or both allocations are based on prior year's percentages of students who qualify for free and reduced price meals. And then lastly, in terms of background, I want to speak to the National Board certification bonuses, and the teachers and other certificated instructional staff who have attained certification from the National Board for Professional Teaching Standards are eligible for a state-funded bonus each year they maintain their certification. A qualifying instructional staff who holds a valid certificate from the National Board for the duration of the 2022-2023 school year will receive a bonus of $6,019. An additional state-funded annual bonus of $5,000 is paid to each certificated instructional staff with a valid National Board certificate and an assignment in a qualifying high poverty schools. Turning to the summary of House Bill 1238, beginning in the 2023-24 school year, each public school, including charter schools and state tribal compact schools, must provide breakfast and lunch each school day to any student who requests a breakfast, lunch, or both. The school must provide the meals at no charge to the student and without consideration of the student's eligibility for federally reimbursed free or reduced price meals. The provided meals must be nutritiously adequate for reimbursement under the National School Lunch Program or the School Breakfast Program, and students are not eligible for more than 1 meal in a meal service period. Meals provided at no charge to requesting students are made part of the state's statutory program of basic education. The Superintendent of Public Instruction is directed to adopt and periodically revise rules to implement the requirements obligating schools to provide the no-charge meals to requesting students. Until the 2025-26 school year, the superintendent may exempt public school districts from the requirements to provide the meals at no charge to requesting students if the district shows good cause for not being able to comply with the requirements. Public schools are obligated to continue collecting meal applications where applicable and to run direct certification at least monthly. Additionally, school districts must annually monitor data for eligibility in the community eligibility federal provision and apply where eligible. There are also in the legislation numerous changes made to align statutory provisions with requirements obligating schools to provide the meals at no charge to requesting students. Examples include changing various references to student eligibility for free and reduced price meals to students meeting federal eligibility requirements for those meals, and modifying provisions governing school and school district actions when a student cannot pay for a school meal or a previously served meal. There are also funding-related provisions in the legislation, and that the Learning Assistance Program is modified for the 2024 and 2025 school year, and that general LAP allocations for school districts that do not participate in the community eligibility provision of the CEP must be based on the school district percentage of students who are eligible for free and reduced price meals in the school years 1920 through 2022-23, or the prior school year, whichever is greater. And for the high poverty-based allocation, a school that's not participating in the CEP continues to be eligible for the high poverty allocation if the school qualified during one of specified prior years. There are provisions also in here for the National Board Certified Teacher Bonuses, and that for the 2024-25 and 2025-26 years, a qualified certificated instructional staff is eligible for the high poverty school annual bonus of $5,000 if they have an instructional assignment in a school that met the definition of a high poverty school during the 2022-23 school year. Lastly, the Superintendent of Public Instruction is directed to convene a work group to identify and examine actual and potential impacts to education programs funded by the state, including the Learning Assistance Program, resulting from requirements obligating schools to provide the meals at no charge to requesting students. The work group must also recommend actions for avoiding or mitigating identified impacts. And the work group is designated to provide a report to the appropriate committees of the legislature by June 30th, 2024. With that, I will conclude my remarks, and I'm happy to respond to questions.
Thank you. I think I'm going to ask members of the committee to hold questions so that we can get to those who have been waiting patiently to testify. Let me note before we ask Vice Chair Shavers to bring people forward that we have 19 people who have asked to testify. I beg your pardon, we have the prime sponsor here. We will get to him first, but I just want to note we have 19 people have signed in, 18 of whom are speaking pro, 1 who is speaking con. I don't know that we are going to get to everybody today, so you may want to just be notified that it's possible for you to submit your written testimony through the legislative portal. But first, let us welcome the prime sponsor, Representative Riccelli. Thank you for your patience.
Well, thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee. I appreciate you hearing this bill. I'm very pleased to be in front of you. For the record, State Representative Marcus Riccelli from the 3rd District in Spokane. I'm going to be brief so that we can get to some of the testimony, but I do want to share with you, I come to you with my maxim, food is health. Consistent access to nutritious food is part of how we protect kids from getting sick while ensuring they have the fuel they need to learn, grow, and play. And free school meals are the most effective way to ensure that all of our kids are getting the food they need to thrive. I was proud to work with you all to pass legislation giving now over 700,000 of our students access to universal meals. You know, just several years ago, before the work with you all in the legislature, we were 44th in the country implementing a USDA program. We were leaving millions of dollars on the table. But I don't want to talk about going backwards. I want to talk about going forward. The question today is, why stop with 700,000 students? Do we really need a global pandemic as an excuse to ensure that all Washington's children have the healthy, nutritious food they need to learn and grow? My answer is no. I hope you'll join me in answering resoundingly no to that and yes to this bill. We saw what universal school meals did to reduce childhood hunger during the pandemic. This is also critical action toward meeting our goal of ending childhood hunger in Washington. That's what we can do with universal meals. This proposal is a win for a community, a win for our schools, and a win for working parents and the middle class. I think there's a lot of stories that we're hearing throughout. I'd like to share with a recent New York Times article talking about the importance of universal meals. I'll be emailing that to all of you. I look forward to hearing the folks who are coming to talk today, because they have the personal stories to tell you why this is so important. I thank you all for hearing me and would stand for any questions.
And thank you very much, Representative Riccelli. We thank you for your championship of these issues for many, many years. We know how to reach you, so you're welcome to stay and listen to testimony with us. You may join us on the dais. But let's get to the members of the public.
Appreciate that. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Representative Vice Chair Shavers.
Can we have Mikhail Cherniske, Michael Morin, and Jason Perens come up? And can we have Riccelli Calvillo, Ben Atkinson, Ronnie Cook, and Lisa Rankin on deck remotely? Thank you.
Please proceed.
Hi, Chair Santos and members of the committee. My name is Mikhail Cherniske, and I'm here on behalf of the Office of Superintendent of Public Instruction in support of House Bill 1238. This is our agency request legislation. We're really excited to bring it forward. I'll keep it brief. I just wanted to touch on 2 points here. One is that you hear about this federal income threshold for eligibility for free or reduced price meals, but I don't know if everybody knows that there's no state adjustment, there's no regionalization. It is set at the federal level. So a family of 4 making $52,000 a year in Washington State has to pay full price for meals. And that's about $1,800 for 2 students in elementary school per year. I also want to point out that in USDA regulations, all food must be procured in the United States, and a significant portion of that is grown right here in Washington State. So I'll save the time. Thanks.
Thank you. Michael?
Good evening, Madam Chair. For the record, Michael Moran with the Confederated Tribes of the Colville Reservation. 1.4 million acres across Northeast Washington and students in 22 school districts, the only point I really wanted to leave you is this one. In 2002, 20 years ago, we passed House Bill 1771, which addressed the need of over 150 schools in the state of Washington that did not have kitchens. They were built in the 1950s and 60s when people went home for lunch. That doesn't happen that much anymore. The fact is that our kids are at school from 7 o'clock in the morning till after 7 o'clock at night. Providing these meal services is part of an ongoing way for us to address the changing face of our students, our schools, and our society. It's a good idea. Please do it. Please pass the bill.
Thank you very much. Do we have questions for this panel? Seeing none, before we turn to those who are online, I am going to ask if Mr. Perens from Chewelah School District is in the room. I will also ask the Vice Chair to call for the next in-person panel.
Can we have Logan Andres and Randy Spalding come up on deck? Thank you.
Thank you. Riccelli, are you able to join us? There you are. Please proceed.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee. I'm actually Claudia Villatoro from Yakima. Riccelli Calvillo isn't here today because she had a last-minute family medical emergency. I am the Family Engagement Coordinator for Save the Children Action Network in Yakima County and the parent of 3 school-age children. I'd like to share on behalf of Riccelli, my children, and my organization, Save the Children Action Network, that we support this bill, House Bill 1238. We know children cannot learn effectively when they are hungry. I'd like to share a brief personal story experienced by my son, now a 4th grader. As a family, we were going through a rough time financially, and because of that, we did not have enough money to add to his school meals account. His only option was to take a grilled cheese sandwich and a reminder in the form of a receipt that he had a balance on his account. And because of that, we want to ask you to please ensure all Washington learners have the nutrition they need during the school day that allows them to learn and grow into their full potential. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I do see that Mr. Perens is actually online. Would you like to go ahead and unmute?
Thank you, Chair Santos and members of the committee. Jason Perens here, Superintendent of Chewelah School Districts in the 7th Legislative District. I'm speaking against House Bill 1238 regarding free meals for all students. I understand and agree with my colleagues that a hungry child has additional challenges when learning. There's no fact. My opposition has nothing to do with that issue. This does not mean that the state or schools are responsible for, what it means is schools are not responsible for feeding children. There are many factors that influence student learning, and almost all are not the responsibility of the schools. Schools are partners with communities and parents. We need to stay in our lane. Fortunately, students are not coming to school hungry, and there isn't a hunger problem. I dispute this argument. People are saying this, but it's not true. If it is true, it's not the school's responsibility to feed children. If a parent is responsible for feeding the children and struggle at times, we have free and reduced lunch options for them. I've been in education over 28 years, and I've never been asked by a single parent to feed their child. The consequences of the state feeding, transporting, and providing mental and physical health students is going to have consequences to our students. To have a generation grow up believing that the state will feed them and take care of them undermines everything we're trying to do to teach our children about becoming independent, self-sufficient citizens. OSPI and others say that the bill says that it will eliminate stigmas. Is it the goal of OSPI or the legislature to eliminate stigmas? Is a life free of troubles the new standard? There's a lot of questions I have with this bill. I, of course, want children to eat. Free meals always means not good food. I've been in education 28 years, and the quality of food is always a complaint and an issue. I ask that this committee revisit this and look at that, because kids that are in need are being fed. And I don't think it's the burden of the state to take care of that. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving to Ben Atkinson.
Hi, my name is Ben Atkinson, and I am representing the Washington State Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics, the professional organization of registered dietitians.
Ben, I'm going to interrupt you for a moment. Can you undo your camera, or what am I trying to say? Open your camera?
Yes, but I'm not much to look at.
Oh. Okay, please proceed with your testimony.
Okay. I am also the Assistant Director of Child Nutrition Services at the Auburn School District, though not officially representing them here today. Just pointing out that I have experience and knowledge of this issue. I live and work in the 47th District. Shout out to Representatives Stern and Entman, as well as Senator Kaufman. Students deserve a breakfast and lunch at school. I do not use the D word, deserve, lightly, because I do think we should put in work for the things that we want. But we should not be forcing students to jump through hoops due to their parents' financial situations, just to get an apple and a yogurt for breakfast. We do not force our students to fill out financial records in order to ride the bus, use hand soap in the bathroom, or to use a glass beaker in chemistry class. Providing free meals is the right thing to do. In my work in Auburn, at several school districts, I have seen the amount of lunches served double since we have provided free meals throughout this past school year, indicating that there's a great need for these meals. And overall, district-wide, we're serving 14% more students than we were before COVID. The equity and equality that this provides is also very refreshing for students and staff. There's no more pestering phone calls to parents who really can't afford paying for school meals. There's no more silent judgment of lower-income students by their peers. It also helps the school nutrition department dedicate its already minimal staffing levels to doing what's most important, cooking healthy and tasty food for students. We need less people dedicated to the cash registers, less people processing free meal applications, and more people chopping bell peppers and making smoothies. Please support the passage of this bill. Appreciate your time.
Thank you very much for your testimony. Ronnie Cook.
Yes. Good afternoon, Chair Santos and members of the committee. I'm Ronnie Cook, special education teacher for students with significant autism at Harbor Point Middle School in Mukilteo. I am speaking in support of House Bill 1238. I have 3 points. First, I was a child of working poor parents. We didn't always have sufficient food, but my father was too stubborn to ask for help, so I was affected by that. I see families experiencing the same hardships in my school today. My program is highly specialized and students are bused in from all over the district. My school is only one of 2 in Mukilteo that doesn't qualify for community eligibility provision. Families I work with have significant expenses related to their child's disability and would receive school meals through CEP at their home schools. If this bill passes, students will have breakfast and lunch no matter what school they attend or program they need. Additionally, this bill preserves stable funding levels for nationally board certified teachers to work in highly poverty schools. Research from the University of Washington finds that the bonus program helps improve recruitment and retention at those hard to staff schools. Finally, the bill creates a work group to identify impacts to education programs funded by the state. We have seen the impact of this in our district because in the schools that did qualify for the community eligibility provision, we do not have the documentation to waive other fees for families since they were not required to submit free reduced meal applications. We need to figure out how to address those issues and ensure we have the staff to feed all students when this bill passes. In conclusion, I ask that you support House Bill 1238 by passing it out of committee. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Cook. And School Director Liza Rankin. Director Rankin, if, please.
Hi, can you hear me? Okay,
We
good.
can.
Hi, and thank you so much, Chair Santos and committee members, for your time today. My name is Liza Rankin. I'm the Vice President of Seattle Public Schools Board of Directors, and I'm testifying today in support of this bill, House Bill 1238. I'm also the mom of 2 SPS students. First, thank you so much to Representative Riccelli and the many sponsors of this bill. This is a priority issue for Seattle Public Schools and our students and our community. We appreciate the recognition that healthy meals are foundational to student learning and appreciate that the legislature is working to remove barriers for students to access their basic needs. The Universal Meals program that started with COVID-19 was very successful in Seattle Public Schools, and more students participated in meal programs than prior to the pandemic. In addition to the benefits of a balanced meal and the many other things that other speakers have mentioned, students were able to spend more of their time at lunch eating, spending time with their friends, and maximizing their time at recess instead of waiting in line while they and adults navigated a payment system. I saw this firsthand while volunteering for lunch duty at schools all over Seattle last year during periods of staff absences and vacancies when we got back to in-person learning. And what I also saw was how Universal Meals supported schools in implementing more efficient and creative methods of serving their meals and seating students, and how they used this to encourage students to practice good mealtime habits and to encourage their participation and consistency with cleanup. We also appreciate that the bill addresses issues around the Learning Assistance Program funding and other formulas and programs that rely on that free and reduced price lunch data. And we look forward to working with OSPI to ensure that schools and districts receive the resources they need to support student learning in the Learning Assistance Program and in the lunchroom. Thank you all so very much for supporting this bill and for our students and for the time to speak today.
Thank you very much, Director Rankin. Do we have questions for any of the online panelists? Seeing none, let's go ahead. Randy? Oh, before you start, Randy, Vice Chair Shavers, we're going to call one final online panel.
Can we have Lilak Rave, Madhumitha Gandhi, and Patrick Durgan on deck remotely? Thank you.
And I think that that will be the end of our public testimony. So Randy, please proceed.
Good evening, Chair Santos and members of the committee. I'm Randy Spalding, Executive Director for the State Board of Education, testifying in support of House Bill 1238. In a statewide effort to engage more learners experiencing our system, the State Board asked elementary classes what they liked about their schools and what they would like to see changed as part of a competition to name our new unofficial mascot, Snorkels the Seal. One of the most prominent themes from kids centered on food, with many asking that all kids have free meals at school. It was warming to note that students who wanted free food wanted it for everyone. In a recent visit to one of these classes, one student said plainly and simply, "We can't learn if we're hungry." That student is right, as you heard from the sponsor and others today. I'm here to honor the voice of these students and express the board's support for House Bill 1238, This policy would advance our priority to support the whole child to create conditions needed for learning by ensuring each elementary student has access to food essential for their developing brains. Thank you for your consideration and time.
Thank you, Randy. Logan?
Thank you. Good afternoon, Madam Chair and members of the committee. For the record, Logan Endres with the Washington State School Directors Association, testifying in support of this bill. Passing this bill is a top priority of school board members this session. And this bill's commitment to funding all meals at no cost to students will ensure that they are in the classroom ready to learn instead of wondering when their next meal might arrive. Over the past couple of sessions, you've expanded opportunities on this front, and based on that, 202 of the state's 295 school districts offer free meals to at least some of their students, with 149 of those districts offering free meals to all students district-wide. Communities across our state are counting on you to support this bill to close that gap and make sure that all school districts can offer meals to all students. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Logan. Do we have any questions for this panel? Seeing none, let us turn to online. We have Patrick Durgan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I appreciate the time today. My name is Patrick Durgan. I'm the Director of Food Services and Executive Chef for Bellingham Public Schools in Bellingham, Washington. I'm also a parent of 2 students, and I'm speaking in support of House Bill 1238. Our district consists of about 32% free and reduced students based on direct certification and household federal applications. I want to reiterate what Mikhail said. The qualifying income levels for families is the same across our whole country. I know for sure the cost of living is not. This means that more students have a need than qualify in our district, and I'm sure in so many other districts across our state. Less than half of our qualifying students in Bellingham are currently participating in our school lunch program. That means over 1,700 students who qualify are not consistently eating school lunches. Stigma does exist, and especially at our middle and high school levels. While serving universal meals during the pandemic, we had about 20% higher participation rate than we have this current school year. And that's something that we are taking very serious note of. In Bellingham, we also believe as humans, when we dine together, we are already participating in an active community. And our society needs more of this right now than it ever has, as so many other things are dividing us. Without nutrition, our students are already at a huge disadvantage in the opportunity to learn and to grow. A point I think about often is by law, we require all students to attend school, yet we don't commit to feeding them. All humans need 3 basic things to exist: air to breathe, water to drink, and food to eat. Aren't these basic human rights? Shouldn't universal meals be a basic human right to the great state of Washington and all the children? Please vote yes to support equity and opportunity for our children in the state. And I challenge anyone who thinks school meals can't be nutritious and delicious, come visit Bellingham, Washington. Thank you for allowing me to testify today.
Thank you, Mr. Durgan. And let's move to Madhumita Gandhi.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Please proceed.
Awesome. Madam Chair and members of the committee, for the record, I am Madhumita Gandhi, a student representative on the Snoqualmie Valley School Board, testifying in strong support for House Bill 1238 on behalf of the Washington State School Directors Association, WASDA. While some school districts offered free meals for all students during the COVID-19 pandemic, our district alone saw a massive influx in the number of meals eaten by students. In the 2017 to 2018 school year, a total of around 375,000 breakfast and lunch meals were eaten, and in the 2021 to 2022 school year, that number got to a little under 600,000. Clearly, there is a causation between the price of meals and the amount of meals being purchased, and I am certain other districts saw similar results. When students are properly fed, they are better equipped for learning. This bill would ensure that students do not need to fret about what they will eat for lunch and instead focus that energy on their studies. Please consider passing this bill forward to not only satisfy a student's hunger, but also to benefit their education. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Madhumita, and thank you for your service on the Snoqualmie School Board. And to close public testimony on this bill, Leilak Rav, or Rave. Please proceed. I can see you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Wonderful. Madam Chair and members of the committee, my name is Dr. Lilach Reve. I'm a general pediatrician from Seattle, and I'm speaking today on behalf of 1,200 pediatricians throughout the state who support House Bill 1238, providing free school meals to all children in the state of Washington, regardless of the ability to pay. Hunger is a real problem with widespread impacts. It is impossible to be physically healthy without adequate nutritious calories. For children, it's also impossible to complete the tasks of development without adequate nutritious calories, and that includes learning in the school setting. Children who are hungry are more likely to be truant from school, have poorer test scores, and more likely to repeat a grade. Children who are hungry have more behavioral and mental health challenges that impact both their success in school and functioning in life. In the state of Washington, just about half of all families with children relied on food assistance in the latest year for which we have data, 2020-2021. Extending free school meals to all children is not necessarily about helping those kids who can afford the food. It helps those who cannot. Speaking to a fellow parent just yesterday who was talking to a local school principal in Seattle Public School District, they were relaying, as you heard from so many individuals here today, how much greater the uptake is in participation with school meals once during the pandemic they were offered to all. Children who are hungry carry the shame of poverty in addition to the empty feeling in their bellies, and this bill can eliminate both. I and the pediatricians of the state urge you to vote in favor of House Bill 1238.
Thank you, Doctor. Do we have any questions for the final panel? Seeing none, I apologize to the 6 people that we were not able to get to who wished to testify, and Vice Chair Shavers.
Madam Chair, we have 735 non-testifiers, 709 pro, 26 con.
That closes the public hearing on House Bill 1238, and there being no further business before the House Education Committee, we are adjourned.